Tonight from the Congressional Budget Office that the Senate's immigration proposal would bring down the U.S. deficit. The CBO sees net savings of $175 billion from 2014 to 2023. The Senate's Democratic majority is seeking to pass the bill by July 4th. Meantime, in the House, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher of California says that Speaker John Boehner should be ousted from his job if he brings the immigration bill to the floor. Earlier, I spoke with Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro of Texas. I began by asking him if Republican infighting over immigration threatens the bill's chances.
Before the bill comes forward, Republicans have got to more or less get on the same page about how they want to deal with the issue. But I'm hoping that the side that wants to see progress, that wants to accomplish comprehensive reform, will prevail, that those who are taking the longer-term view will prevail.
Congressman, today reporters asked Speaker John Boehner if he would lose his job if he brought up immigration legislation without the support of the Republican conference. His answer was, quote, maybe. Is the Speaker's job in jeopardy?
Well, you know, he's probably in the best position to answer that, as is the Republican caucus. But I can say this. If you look at the major pieces of legislation that have been passed in 2013, from the debt ceiling limit extension to Sandy relief to the Violence Against Women Act, all of those were done without employing the Hastert rule. And so what you had was a combination of about 25 to 33% of the Republican caucus voting with about 85 to 95% of the Democrats and passing these significant pieces of legislation. And I'm hoping that the same thing will happen with immigration.
Sir, Democrats and Republicans in the Senate have been trying to renegotiate the border security measures in the legislation. Is there middle ground on this issue? What should a border security amendment contain that would satisfy concerns expressed by those who've yet to make up their minds on the bill?
Well, I think the first thing is that Republicans have to acknowledge that the border is more secure today than it's ever been in American history, and that this president has committed more resources to securing the border than any president literally in American history. So I think we have to start on the same page, agreeing to the same facts. From there, if we're going to do more border enforcement, and honestly, I think you probably don't pass a bill unless you do more of that, we've got to make sure that the metrics are objective metrics, that they're not subjective metrics. Otherwise, we'll be here in 6 or 7 years fighting over just that piece of the legislation and never moving on to the second phase, which is legalization.
And Congressman Castro, one concern expressed by critics of reform is the strain they say would put on social programs. If, as proponents of reform say, it would bring millions of people out of the shadows, what then does reform mean for the nation's overall economy?
That by all indications and many studies that it's a healthy thing. When you bring people out of the shadows, remember, they're going to be paying more taxes, they're going to be participating in society, buying more things. So overall, it will be an economic boost to our states and to our nation.
Sir, that economic boost, would that boost also put a strain on the social safety net?
Well, I think that, ultimately as folks become citizens, then obviously they will be able to avail themselves of social services. But I think if you look at the pluses versus the minuses, there's no question that we come out as a nation on the plus side.
Congressman, there has been talk of the need for the Republican Party to make inroads with the Hispanic electorate. What are your constituents telling you about the GOP and the position of some of its members on immigration reform?
Well, I think that over the last few years, and even before that, for example, around 1994 when Pete Wilson was governor of California, or when Arizona passed SB 1070, a lot of the rhetoric and the policy proposals among Republicans have made a lot of Hispanic Americans, these are folks who are first or second or third generation Hispanics and Americans, feel like they're not part of the American family, like Republicans don't acknowledge them as American, and that is fundamentally a problem for the Republican Party going forward.
Sir, meantime, in your own home state, Texas has been a battleground for Democrats and Republicans to win the Hispanic vote. You've been quoted as saying that Hispanics in Texas have not been approached in a serious way about helping transform the state. Has anything been done to change that, in your opinion?
Well, With respect to the parties, right now Texas is a fairly solid Republican state, but the Democratic Party is coming back and is getting organized and making inroads, and at least from our part, that includes a large Hispanic voice in that transition. And so, I can speak for Democrats and say that we are very much inclusive of the Latino community in Texas now and will be in the coming years.
And, sir, in a final analysis, does immigration reform get passed in the United States Congress?
I said at the beginning of the year that I believed that in 2013 that it would pass, and I still believe that. I think that the better angels around here will ultimately prevail, and I think that we'll get it done.
Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro.